Okay, so today we're diving into the story of Lehman Brothers.
Lehman Brothers.
Yeah, you've probably heard the name right.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe even associated with 2008.
Yeah, the financial crisis.
Yeah, the financial crisis. But today, we're going beyond just the headlines. We're really going to explore how a concept like the American dream,
Right.
the desire to own a home,
Yeah.
could actually trigger a global financial meltdown.
It's crazy.
And to do that, we need to talk about subprime mortgages.
Subprime mortgages, yeah, those are loans given to people
Right.
who maybe don't have the greatest credit score
Yeah.
or a really steady income.
Right. So back then, it felt like almost anyone could get a mortgage.
It was so easy.
Almost as easy as ordering takeout or something.
Yeah, it really felt that way.
So that easy access to credit that was a major factor in fueling the housing bubble. Right.
But absolutely.
It wasn't just about individual dreams.
Yeah.
There were these broader forces at play.
For sure, financial institutions were practically throwing money at people.
Wow. Encouraging them to take on way more debt than they could handle.
And Lehman Brothers,
Yeah.
a firm with a long history,
A very long history.
dating back to 1844.
That's right, 1844.
They were deeply entangled in this.
This whole web of risky lending.
So they went from this respected institution
Yeah, they had a great reputation.
to a key player in this subprime mortgage market. How did that even happen?
Well, in the early 2000s, Lehman Brothers took a very sharp turn
Oh, really?
towards risk-taking.
Okay.
They saw this, booming housing market as an opportunity to,
Make some money.
make a quick buck, yeah.
Yeah.
And they dove headfirst into the world of subprime mortgages.
I bet for a while it seemed like they were printing the money.
Oh, yeah.
But
But as we know, it all came crashing down.
yeah, it did. By 2008, the cracks were impossible to ignore.
They were everywhere.
Lehman Brothers reported this staggering loss
Unbelievable.
of $2.8 billion in a single quarter.
A single quarter just like that.
It's hard to even grasp.
Yeah. 2.8 billion gone. It's almost unfathomable.
Yeah, so how were they so deeply involved in these subprime mortgages? What were they actually doing?
They were bundling these risky loans together,
Oh,
turning them into these really complex investments called mortgage-backed securities.
mortgage-backed securities.
Yeah. Imagine taking a bunch of shaky loans, mixing them all up,
Right?
and then selling them off as supposedly safe investments
Wow.
to investors worldwide.
That just sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It really was.
Waiting to happen.
And when the housing market cooled down in 2007,
As it inevitably does.
yeah,
Wow.
those mortgage-backed securities, they became toxic.
Oh, yeah.
People started defaulting on their mortgages.
They couldn't keep up.
They couldn't afford the payments.
And that's when the foreclosures started.
The foreclosures started rolling in.
We've all seen the images, right?
Oh, yeah.
The deserted neighborhoods,
Yeah.
the human toll of
Hey,
this crisis.
Those foreclosures, they weren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They represented real people losing their homes, their dreams, their financial security.
It wasn't just happening in one city or one state either.
No, it was nationwide.
This was like an epidemic.
It really was.
And at the heart of it all,
Lehman Brothers.
Lehman Brothers increasingly desperate to stay afloat.
They were scrambling. They were frantically searching for a buyer, anyone to take on their massive liabilities.
So they talked to,
They talked to Bank of America. They talked to Barclays.
but nobody wanted to touch them
Nobody, it was like a sinking ship, and everyone was trying to get off.
before it went under.
Exactly. And on September 15th, 2008, Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy
This was the largest bankruptcy filing
in U.S. history.
in U.S. history.
And the shockwaves reverberated throughout the global financial system.
It's hard to even imagine the impact.
Yeah.
Especially on Lehman's employees.
Oh, yeah.
25,000 people
1,000?
lost their jobs,
Practically overnight.
and many of them had their entire life savings
Oh.
tied up in company stock.
It's just adding insult to injury.
It really is. So after the dust settled,
Yeah.
how did the government even respond to this?
Well,
Did anything change?
yeah, the Lehman Brothers collapse, it really exposed
Yeah?
some major flaws in our financial system.
Yeah.
And, regulators knew they had to take action.
You had to do something.
And that brought us the Dodd-Frank Act of 2010,
Oh, yeah.
which was this massive piece of legislation
Right.
aimed at reforming Wall Street and protecting consumers.
Okay. Dodd-Frank. That's a name you hear a lot.
For sure.
But I'll admit, I'm still a little fuzzy on what it actually does.
I understand.
Can you break it down for us?
Absolutely.
Like you're explaining it to someone who's never even heard of it before.
Think of Dodd-Frank as a set of rules designed to prevent banks from taking on too much risk.
Okay.
the kind of risk that brought down Lehman Brothers.
Got it.
It imposed stricter regulations on big banks,
Okay.
increased transparency in the financial system, and established new agencies to oversee the industry.
So it was basically trying to like rein in the Wild West of Wall Street
Exactly.
and make sure everybody was playing by the rules.
Yeah, level the playing field.
So one of the key pieces of Dodd-Frank
Yes.
was the CFPB.
Yes. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
So their job is to
WQ.
protect the consumer.
Protect the consumer from predatory lending practices.
Okay, so they're like the watchdogs,
They're the watchdogs of the financial industry.
making sure lenders aren't taking advantage of borrowers.
That's their job.
That sounds like a good thing,
It is.
to have somebody looking out for the little guy.
Absolutely.
But I'm guessing it wasn't all smooth sailing.
Well, as with any major piece of legislation,
Right.
there are going to be trade-offs.
No way.
Dodd-Frank made the financial system more stable, but some people argue that it also made it harder
Okay.
for people to get mortgages,
So for example,
like younger generations,
Right.
like Gen Z,
yeah,
Alpha Gen,
Right.
who might not have extensive credit history.
or high income.
Right, they could find it more difficult to qualify for a home loan.
Under these stricter lending standards.
Yeah, that's the argument.
So it's kind of this double-edged sword, right?
It is,
On the one hand, we need to prevent another financial meltdown.
of course.
But on the other hand,
Yeah,
we don't want to lock people out of the housing market,
especially.
especially those just starting out.
Exactly.
So how do we strike that balance
That's the question.
between financial stability
And
and
access to credit.
that's the ongoing debate.
Right.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
And what's so fascinating here is that the collapse of Lehman Brothers,
Yeah.
it forced us as a society to really grapple with these questions.
These fundamental questions about our system.
It's not just about numbers and regulations.
No.
This is about people's lives, their
Real.
dreams, their ability to build a future.
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder,
It does.
have we truly learned from the mistakes of the past?
Yeah. Have we learned our lesson? Are we setting ourselves up for a repeat performance?
That's the million-dollar question.
It's easy to think about, events like the Lehman Brothers collapse is something that happened over there on Wall Street.
Right.
Like it doesn't really affect us.
Yeah, in our daily lives.
But the reality is financial decisions made by governments, corporations, individuals, they all have consequences.
They have far-reaching consequences.
And we all feel them.
Yeah, that's one of the key takeaways from the Lehman Brothers story.
For sure.
It reminds us that we're all connected
Yeah.
in this, intricate web of finance.
It's true. And that, even seemingly small decisions can have ripple effects.
A ripple effect throughout the whole system.
With that butterfly effect, right?
Exactly.
One small flap of a butterfly's wings
Yeah,
can cause a hurricane.
on the other side of the world.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important
Yeah,
for everyone to at least have a basic understanding of how the financial system works.
How it all works. Yeah.
Because ultimately the choices that we make,
Yeah.
whether it's how we manage our own finances, where we invest our money, or even who we vote for,
Yeah.
they can have a real impact.
A real impact on the stability of the whole thing.
So what can we do
Well,
as individuals
yeah.
to create a more stable and equitable
A more stable
financial future?
A better financial future.
Where do we even begin?
I think the first step is awareness.
Yeah.
By understanding the events that led to the 2008 crisis, we can start to recognize the warning signs
Okay.
and make better decisions,
Right.
more informed decisions.
Yeah.
We can advocate for policies that protect consumers,
All right.
promote responsible lending practices. We
Yeah.
can educate ourselves
Okay.
about financial concepts and just make sure we're not taking on more risk than we can handle.
So knowledge is power.
It really is.
The more we understand,
About the financial system.
yeah, the better equipped we are.
Yeah, to make choices that benefit all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up
Yeah.
our deep dive into the Lehman Brothers collapse, I want to leave you, the listener,
Yeah.
with this thought. Have we truly learned from this?
Have we learned
Are we taking the necessary steps
to prevent
to prevent history from repeating itself?
big questions?
These are questions we all need to think about
It's tricky.
because the answers,
Yeah.
they'll shape not just our own financial futures,
Right.
but the financial health of our nation and the world.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
It was my pleasure.